filming, babe. Oop, I'll need that for a shot. Seeger of my house, bidding you welcome. Today we are talking about 4 GameCube games that I have played over the course of last year and start of this year. 2 of these have actually been very recent. I finished 2 of them in December, and then one of them, I'm not sure when I finished it, but it was before she moved in. I may have made a video talking about it already, I don't actually remember. What may have been during like my big hiatus, but we'll get...
What's that?
The big hiatus. Hiatus is like you're apart from something. Like you take a hiatus from work means you don't go to work for a while.
Oh. Okay.
So the first game is, I'll give that one to you because you've played that one. Think about what you want to say about it, because we're going to do like an introduction to the game, our thoughts on it, and then just like a closing statement. It is. The first game is Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, which I can say right now is an awesome game, nowhere near worth the price of admission. This game, the cost of entry, at least in Australia, is about $150 AUD, and that was back when I bought it. It might be even more now. I know that a lot of this Nintendo stuff from around this time has just been skyrocketing recently, like Pokemon Heart Gold of the Poké Walker, that's super high now, and I don't even know why. Like with the Poké Walker, which makes it expensive. But this is a turn-based RPG, the sequel to Paper Mario 64, which in turn was the spiritual successor to Super Mario RPG on the Super Nintendo. I've not played either of those two, but you can play this one without prior knowledge of the other games. And how this works is, a lot of the world, all of the characters are made out of paper, so they can be like side on, but you can also like twist to them so that they're like thin. And you can do that to get into like certain crevices and things in the world. And there's a lot of like it's got puzzle platforming elements, but that's not like the main game. But when you do the platforming, you do need to use that ability. It's turn-based, so you attack an enemy, then it's the next turn the enemy attacks you, then the next turn you attack the enemy. It's like any turn-based RPG. But it's very much set around correct timing. So
What, when you poop on the platform?
Yes. But in the combat, say you use a jump attack. You jump, and if you press A, as soon as you land on the enemy's head, you can do another jump, which is like 2 attacks then. Same with the hammer, you can hold down the A button, and if you let it go as soon as it hits the enemy, then it'll do extra damage. And figuring out, getting the timing down for everything takes a little bit, but once you're used to it, it's really, really cool. And it's very useful because you basically have to know how to do it in order to win. Otherwise, you're going to be taking too much damage. Health items, they are plentiful, but if you're not used to it, you will go through quite a few of them. When you defeat a boss, you get a new ability. Usually it's an attack ability, but one of the abilities is a shooting star ability. And the shooting stars will rain down, except the stars will be items. So you shoot 1 star, it's a health, you get 1 health back. You shoot another star, you get 1 mana back, stuff like that. Probably the most useful one I found was the earthquake ability, because say you're facing 4 enemies, the earthquake ability will attack all 4 of them. And if you do it correctly, you can do at least like 8-9 damage to every enemy. Something interesting is your health bar is not really, really high. In Final Fantasy games, your health bar can go into the thousands, which is kind of ridiculous. I believe in this one, the most you can get it to was around like maybe 40, and most of the enemies will only do around like between 1 and 5 damage. It's very rare to face an enemy that'll do any more damage than that. As for the story is very good. It is generally the same thing as it always is. Mario is trying to rescue Princess Peach, but there's a twist. You're not really after Bowser, it's a new enemy. It's like a space goblin thing. And he has all of his space goblin minions, and what's funny is when you defeat a boss, you actually get a segment where you're playing as Bowser. And Bowser is seen as somewhat of a joke in this game. Like, he's always a few steps behind you. Like, as you've defeated a boss, he's only just entered the level that you've completed, and he's like, whoa, what's going on here? There's no one around. Which I thought was very funny. The boss battles are really fun. Each one has a different kind of thing you have to do, and it will take you probably multiple tries to beat them. What else can I say about it? It was a while since I've played this, so I don't remember everything about the game. It's got a lot of levels. You have like a main hub world, which is like a town you run around, and then you find different areas to go to from there. I think you go through a sewer to get to some level, you go on a train to get to another level, you take a boat to get to another level. There's a lot of collectibles. There's a lot to do outside of the main game, a lot of side stuff. Some of the side stuff becomes like main game stuff. She's ran away! It becomes like main game stuff, which I don't really like when they do that, especially sometimes. Like, I would arrive back in the hub world after defeating a boss, and I just did not know where to go, so for a little bit of this, I did have to use the guide. It's actually a trend in all of these games. I think I had to use a guide for almost all of them. But it was very fun. It gets a solid recommendation. If you can find it for under $50, I think that's a good price of entry. Try not to pay like 150 plus, because it's just, it can't live up to expectations of that price. You ever play this one? That's okay. My copy is complete. Keep a little bit of bubble wrap in there just to protect it. I should really get like nice cases to hold these in, but they're fine as they are. The next one, which I only just finished in the last month, is a game that I've been wanting to play for a while. There's a lot of like Nintendo games that I've just never gotten around to playing, and I'm trying to knock them off my bucket list before I eventually decide to just stop playing. But we have Luigi's Mansion. I have my own printed out cover for this because when I bought it, it was the Platinum Hits version. I think it looks pretty good. Like, from a distance, you can't really tell. Complete in there with its manual. I think disc is... I mean, it played all the way through, so the disc must be fine. This one was very different. I like when they make a Luigi game, it's usually completely different from a Mario game. Like, all of the Luigi's Mansion games are just completely different from anything else Mario has done. Which is good, because if you just... Well, when they did make a Luigi game that was just a copy of a Mario game on the Wii U, like Super Luigi Brothers U, it just felt like a cheap copy. Although it was very hard. This one's completely different. You play as Luigi, who is actually trying to rescue Mario, so it's a little bit different. Usually Mario is rescuing people, and this one Luigi is rescuing people. And you get this notification that you've won a mansion. Like, just out of the blue, Luigi gets like an email or something, or I don't know if he even has email, but he gets some sort of notification that says, you have won a mansion. Come to this place, spend the night, and then he will claim it. But when he gets there, he finds out it's full of ghosts. But he's also looking for Mario. No, wait. No, Mario won the contest, and then Luigi went to look for him when he didn't come back. That's the story. I already forget stuff. I forget stuff so quickly in these games after I'm done playing them. Luigi gets this ability from a scientist that he meets. It's called the Poltergust 3000. It's like a giant vacuum that's used to suck in the ghosts. It leads to very interesting gameplay elements. You basically use the poltergust for everything in the game. You use the flashlight to quickly stun a ghost, and then you use the poltergust to suck it in, and depending on what the health bar of the enemy is, it'll take longer to suck them in. Like, if it's 100, you have to get them down to 0, you know? And if it's 20, you have to get them down to 0, but obviously getting 20 down to 0 is going to be faster than getting 100 down to 0. The game is very varied. It's kind of like a Resident Evil game in that you're in this mansion, but there's a lot of locked doors that you just can't access yet, and you have to finish puzzles or finish bosses or find certain items and abilities to unlock them. There's lots of things you can do with the poltergust. Like, some rooms you'll have to light all of the candles in the room to get the doors to open. In another room you have to use like a mirror to look behind you to see a ghost that only appears in reflections, and then you can get him. So you kind of have to use your head as you're going through, and if you enter a room and there's just like nothing in there, like, try just messing around with a few things. See if the poltergust will move anything. Like, I remember I entered a room that had 2 bunk beds, like a study desk, and like a dial on the ceiling with 2 planes on it, and you use the poltergust to suck air towards the dials to make them spin around, and that's what makes the ghosts come out. It took me a little bit to figure that out because I had to look it up. My brain was not functioning well that day. It is a very good game. Graphics are awesome on this game. I think this was a release title for the GameCube. It looks fantastic. Like, this would have been a good looking game on the Wii, and if this was on the Wii U, I don't think anyone would have complained about the graphics. That is something I will say about these GameCube games. Their graphics do hold up, except in Animal Crossing. It looks like a Nintendo 64 game.
No.
It does. I don't remember how much this one cost. I don't think I paid an incredible amount for it, maybe like $30 or $40. Definitely check it out. The main enemy of the game, which is revealed a little bit later on, are the boos. Like, what you get in every Ghost Mansion, the boos. And they have entrapped Mario in a painting, and you have to rescue him from them. At the end of every level after a boss, you end up going back to the scientist, and he'll convert the ghosts you've captured into paintings so that they can't escape again. And obviously at the end of the game, you know, you defeat the boos, you get Mario back, and you win. And what's kind of funny is that at the end of the game, you're collecting treasure throughout the entire game, and I just could not figure out why you were collecting treasure. There were no shops, you could not upgrade your poltergeist via purchasing things. There was just nothing to spend it on. But at the end of the game, it tallied up how much cash I had, and then showed me the house I could buy with it, and it like showed this tiny little rundown cottage. Which was kind of funny. It's like, oh, you didn't collect enough gems, so now Luigi is poor. It's like, it's a little bit silly, but it's a fun thing at the end of the game. But definitely check this one out. It gets a very big recommendation. A lot of the rooms are very dark, so if you have young kids, like, maybe wait a couple of years or supervise them while they're playing this one, because they can probably get pretty scared by it. It says it's okay for people aged 3+, but some of the ghosts do look a bit spooky. And the final game that I will talk about, and the one that I just hated. I went into this game wanting to like it. Everyone's consensus is that this game isn't very good. It's a vast departure from the series. I wanted to prove them and myself wrong by just giving it a good, honest go. And I did play through this all the way to the end. It is Starfox Adventures. This is a action puzzle platformer. Emphasis on puzzle. There are so many stupid bad puzzles in this game. They repeat puzzles all the time. You play as Fox McCloud. And the beginning of the game is good because you're doing like Starfox stuff. You're shooting enemies in space, which is what you want from a Starfox game. No, wait, no, you don't even start off as Starfox. You start off as a character called Crystal, which is like this like telepathic chick fox thing. And she wears a bikini and undies, and that's it. Um, you start off as her doing like flying and fighting, which is good. It's something you want in a Starfox game. You want that spaceship shooter stuff. Except you eventually get off the ship, where she rides a pterodactyl, and you just start running around, and then like most of the rest of the game is just running around, and that would be okay. Like stuff like The Legend of Zelda, all you do is run around, and those are great games because they're designed well. This one, it's just not. You play as her for a little bit before she gets trapped in a crystal, trapped in a crystal, and then you play as Fox McCloud. You get sent to Dinosaur Planet to figure out why the planet has started to fall apart. And apparently it's because this character called General Scales has kidnapped the princess, stolen all of the items that hold this planet together. Apparently in the center of the planet there are 4 stones that help keep it together. And if you take those stones away, the planet just starts to drift apart from each other. Which is kind of dumb. It doesn't make sense, but not everything in a video game needs to make sense. Unfortunately, this game, it's bad, so it not making sense makes it worse in a way. Like, if it was a good game and some story elements didn't make sense, then, like, I could forgive it. But as soon as you land on the planet, Fox asks the dog, the general, hey, why can't I have my blaster? And the dog pretty much tells you, not everything can be solved with blasters. Go do it on your own. And that's like all of the help you get from any of the other characters in the game. From there, it's just you find like a battle staff, and then you just go off doing your own thing. You can get hints from the characters, but they obviously don't care enough to actually come down and help you, even in like life and death situations. Which is silly because like a lot of these situations, if Fox had a blaster, he would just win. None of the other enemies in the game have like guns. So it's like if you had a blaster, you could just blitz through everything. Especially if you have a starship, like you could just destroy everything with a couple of starships and then you would just win the game. It would forget in-game time, it would take Fox McCloud and his crew maybe half an hour to defeat everyone if they got to use their blasters and starships, but because for some, maybe funding was down. Because funding was down, you have to run around the world and use like a stick to defeat enemies. You also use the stick to just complete all of these different puzzles. There's like puzzles where you have to shoot things, but the aiming with the stick is so... It's too loose. Like, you have to be very specific. If your thumb moves like that, like it'll fling the cursor across the screen and you won't be shooting the enemy anymore, you'll be shooting a wall. It's very bad. I kind of liked it for a little bit, like, when I was discovering all of the different mechanics, I was liking it. But then, like, when they no longer introduce mechanics, or they start recycling mechanics, it's like, that's when it gets boring. What I like about The Legend of Zelda is it's always building upon its gameplay, while this one, all the gameplay is the same. Like, every single enemy in this game can be defeated by mashing the A button. Like, no other enemy requires any more skill than that. The only enemies that are sort of different are the boss battles, but the boss battles are kind of like puzzles in themselves. Like, there's a big Tyrannosaurus Rex boss who you have to electrocute and then throw a exploding barrel at, and that's how you defeat him. You just do that 4 or 5 times and he's dead. There's another one where it's like an on-rails shooter section, except you're not in the R-Wing, you're just Fox with his dumb shooty stick. And you have to shoot this enemy in the face 1,000,000 times before he dies. And it's not challenging, it's not fun, it's just tedious. It takes like 15 minutes to beat him, just because the aiming is so loose and you have to be so specific with where your thumb is on the stick. Environments are varied, which is good. I wasn't bored with the environments. There's like snow levels, lava levels, beach levels, forest levels. There's only one shop in the game, which sucks. You have to buy basically everything from this shop to beat the game. So it's like, you basically just have to grind a bit to get everything. What I don't like is that you start off with a limitation on how much currency you can have, and then as the game goes on, random characters that you complete missions for will just give you upgrades to your currency limit. So you just can't buy things until you have enough money, which is dumb because like he has a ship. Why can't he just put money in the ship? I'm sure it had like a glove holder or something, like a glove compartment. The end of the game is really like a slap in the face. It's like basically Nintendo pulled a power move, and the last boss in the game isn't General Scales. I'm gonna spoil it. It's Andros from Starfox 64. Like Andros is not mentioned at all in any of the game, and then in the last 5 minutes he shows up and he's the big boss. So like you don't even get to fight General Scales. It's like the boss fight starts. You hit him once, and then the boss fight is over. And Andros says, no more of this. You come up to space and fight me. And then the last section of the game is actually pretty fun because it's a shooting segment in the R-Wing. Like a spaceship shooter. And I think, why wasn't the whole game this? You could have had like a lava level with the spaceship, a forest level with the spaceship, a snow level with the spaceship. It could have been way more fun than what it was. But as it is, it's very monotonous, so much stuff is repeated. A solid 20% of this game is backtracking. Like just running through areas. The most annoying thing was at the very end, you get the final these spirits that you have to put into the crystal to release crystal. It's pretty dumb. Like you have to get the spell stones to bring the planet back together. But you also need to get these random spirit things. And you need to complete these trials to get them. Like there's a trial of knowledge, trial of fear, trial of strength, and they're all stupid. They're just little mini games that you have to beat. They're so easy. You get all of these spirits and you put them back into the shrine. And for the first 5 spirits, no, the first 4 spirits I'd say. First 4 spirits, you have to go off and complete these arduous quests. And then you have to come all the way back to the shrine. You have to make your way back manually. That probably takes like 20 minutes to 30 minutes just to get back for each one. And I forgot where the bloody thing was. Like, so I had to look up a walkthrough just to have the walkthrough tell me, you've been here before, go back.
No, you had to do that quite a few times.
Yeah, it was so monotonous that I couldn't even remember how to get to certain areas, so I had to look up in the walkthrough how to get back to areas that I'd already been to. But then, for the final 2 spirits, as soon as you get them, Fox gets in his R-Wing and just flies to the shrine. Like, he just lands on top of it where you need to be, and that's it. Like, that basically tells me there was never any need for him to ever walk there. Which means there's probably never any need for him to walk anywhere in this game. It's just, there's so much padding.
Yeah, but you could say that about Spyro.
Yeah, but Spyro's a good game. You
Yeah,
don't
but-
notice it in Spyro.
Yeah, no, you don't notice it, but you could technically say that about Spyro too, that he could just fly somewhere.
Bad aspects are they're brought more to the light of day in a bad game than in a good game. Like, there's a lot of backtracking in something like Ocarina of Time, but you don't notice it because it's a fun game. But this one isn't fun, so it's annoying. I definitely can't recommend this. I have no idea what it's worth. To me, it's worth nothing. There's no manual on that. I don't like it. Does not get a recommendation. It's only like 9 to 12 hours to beat, but it's not a fun 9 to 12 hours. Especially when 4 of those hours are backtracking, so... If you want to try this one, I guess give it a go. You might like it more than me. You might find something good about it that I didn't see, but I did not enjoy it myself.
The graphics are good though.
Yeah, graphics, music, the UI, the HUD, options, all that stuff is really good, but like gameplay needs to be fun as well.
True. That's one of those games where it's not all about graphics.
Yeah, like you can have the best graphics, but if your game isn't fun to play, then people aren't going to enjoy it. But the general consensus on that game is the correct one. What game do you have to talk about, babe?
Animal Crossing.
Say it to the camera. Come on, babe. You gotta show it.
I am showing it.
So what's this game about?
It's about a town that you move to on a train.
Mm-hmm.
So you get onto this train, well you're already on the train.
Speak up a
When
little
you
bit.
start the game, and you meet up with a cat called Rover.
Oh.
Yeah,
Rover's usually a dog's name.
cat.
It's a cat.
And you go into this new like town thing, but it's a town full of animals that you get to talk to, and they can talk. And you get a house that you can decorate, and you can go fishing and stuff.
So what kind of game is it? Is it like a town builder, like a
It's
life sim?
It's like a life sim, but not like Sims.
So different than the Sims.
It's different than Sims.
Oh.
It's more like a village, like simulator, like life sim thing.
Okay.
So
Like a Sim City, or
no, it's more like
if you were a single character in Sim City.
if you're a single character, and say like you in real life, like you get kind of lonely, you can play this game and suddenly you've got loads of animal friends to talk to every day and a
Aw.
town to take care of, and it runs in real time. So it uses the clock inside of the GameCube
Or the Wii.
or the Wii,
We use a Nintendo Wii to play all of our GameCube games.
and you get like whatever day and time and season it is within like the real world. That's what it would be in the game
Oh.
in the Northern Hemisphere.
And so is there an objective to the game? Is there like a story that you eventually complete?
There's no real story, but you've gotta pay off your debt to the raccoon.
Okay,
Kind
so
of.
what happens when you pay off your debt, and how do you pay off your debt? Do you get a job?
No, you don't get a job in this game. You can just pick fruit or catch fish or sell fossils and items and clothing.
Do you sell those to the shop or to
To-
other characters?
You can sell it to the shop. Sometimes you can sell it to other characters, but only if they want to buy it. You can't just sell it to them. And you can send characters letters and they'll send letters back.
I saw one of the letters. You sent them a Christmas letter and they had no idea what you were talking about.
Yeah. And you can make snowmen, and you can just like collect things really. Yeah. And this game was ported from the N64 over to the GameCube.
So it was originally a Nintendo 64 game in like Japan?
Yeah, it was.
And when did this one come out? 2003 or 2001?
One, I think.
One.
I'm not sure, it might be 2003. But overall it's a great game if you just want something to play, and it's perfect for like kids and stuff. And I want to know who paid that much for it.
Probably upon its release, $99.99. And it's worth about maybe $50 nowadays. Would you say that's a good value for the amount of game you get?
Yeah.
And how long would it take you to beat this game? Like, pay off your debt?
Well, if you play it every day and you save your money up, not too long. But if you want to complete, it doesn't really have an ending, but if you want to kind of complete it, you have to collect all of the bugs and all of the fish for the museum and all of the fossils.
So there's a lot of extra content outside of paying off your debt.
Yeah, and you have to collect all of the paintings and stuff. But that can take a while because certain fish and certain bugs only come out at certain seasons.
Hmm.
So if you want to get like a fish, like a winter fish, you have to wait until it's actually winter in the real world before you can actually get that fish.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
And do specific characters have like missions that are specific to them?
Well,
Like, do they send you off to do specific tasks for them?
well,
Like side quests?
you can get different things to do if you ask the villagers, but they have very specific like dialogue when you talk to them. Each one has a different personality.
Oh, that's cool.
And you can they can request items and request to visit your house and stuff, and you have to collect those items and bring the items to them, or bring an item from one villager to the other villager, and then you go back to the original villager that requested you to send an item, and then you can get an item from that villager, like a specific item. It could be a special
So you can connect with people in other villages.
and you can visit other towns too.
Oh, other people's towns.
Yeah, through the other memory card. If there's a other town on another memory card,
So you can
you can
visit them.
You can visit them on the train.
That's cool.
And you can visit them and talk to their villagers.
That's a very unique element. There's not very many games where you put in another memory card and you get additional content.
And
Actually, I can't think of any game where that's the case.
and you can and once you've actually visited them, you can actually sometimes get a new villager move in too from their
cool.
town, from your friend's town. So you could go to your friend's house.
It says you can get 3 friends to move to your town.
Yeah, you can.
And before we finish this, I'm just going to show this, which I thought was really cool. Connect an e-reader and scan Animal Crossing e-cards to get special presents. Maybe even the classic NES games. If you have an e-reader, I feel sorry for you. That thing was such a waste of money.
And
Yeah?
yeah, through the Game Boy.
I thought you could only go to an island in the new one.
No, the island's always been a thing.
No.
It's always been there.
This new one is just based on the island.
Yeah, the new one's just the island. Because you could go to the island in New Leaf as well. But you couldn't live there, but now you can actually live on an island.
Okay. Anything else to say about the game, or did you cover everything? Sounds like you covered everything. Yeah?
I don't know if I did or not. But it's a great game anyway, and
Gets a recommendation?
yeah, and if you're looking for your first Animal Crossing game to get into the series, I recommend this one. The one on the DS,
Wild World?
Wild World, and the one on the Wii, which is Let's Go to the City, or City Folk if you're in America.
Yeah. Alright, thanks for the review, babe. That'll be Seagull My House bidding you guys farewell. I hope you enjoyed this video. Special thanks to Catherine for talking about one of her favourite games. She gets a cuddle for her efforts. And hopefully I can make another one of these in the next few months as I continue to play more games that I've just never gotten around to. Until then, Seagull My House bidding you guys farewell. I bet it wasn't filming this whole time.
Oh, it was.